In a world where traditional paths to success feel out of sync with the heart, we are creating our own. Join us, Kristen, and me, Ghislaine, as we navigate the twists and turns of choosing an authentic life and businesses. We share our personal challenges, we celebrate breakthroughs, and explore the unfiltered realities of life. Through laughter, tears, and raw honesty, and you're going to get a lot of that today because that's the mood we are in. We hold space for each other, we reflect what we can't yet see, and we keep each other accountable. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for being here. Hello, Kristen. And
Hello.
I wish to add to this introduction that we are both drinking coffee, and you are going to hear us slurp on our coffees because, well, this is how it feels the best to drink today the coffee.
I'll try to do it quietly.
So
As
if
soon
you are
as
hearing noises, know that we are doing it on purpose because we are just really enjoying it. Hi, Kristen. How are you doing, darling?
oh, I'm good, I think. I'm I I don't know. I woke up feeling all kinds of interesting. We're just gonna put it.
Aha. Okay. Interesting. Define
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
And uh for me, I get this energetic tired. I don't know, it's like kind of hard to explain. It's different from just regular, like, oh, I'm tired, like I need to sleep. It's a heavier um tired, and usually it's because there's either something I need to do energetically, or like, not like, oh, there's like I need to clear myself, or I need to like release something. It's typically more like there's something trying to get my attention and I'm ignoring
So
it.
it's resistance tiredness. You are fighting
Well,
against something.
yes, but it's usually like against either taking the time to receive a message that's coming in from me,
Mm-hmm.
or we are like, if I'm doing land clearing or land grid work or anything on the earth, like if I'm not paying attention, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like how the universe gets my attention to, like, you're not listening to what we're trying to deliver to you right now, and you need to listen. And since you're
Yes.
not listening, we're going to make you super super tired so that you want to tape up your eyelids until you finally check in and pay attention to whatever is coming through.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting that you describe it like, because when I feel like that, I usually think that they or the universe or my soul is just shutting me down, like my physical body and my mind, so that I don't get in the way and they can do their thing. And you see it more like it's trying to get your attention. I love
Mhm.
this. Tell me more.
So for me, I do a lot of like land work or grid
Can
work.
you can you describe that a little bit?
So I have had like, initially how it started was an accident. Well, of course it was an accident how it
Okay,
started.
so let's start at the beginning. When were you born?
When was I born?
Born.
1983.
Okay. Let's start at the beginning. Do you see this ray of light coming in?
Yes, I do. That actually is gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
Um I was born in December of 1983.
Yes. Okay.
And I so
Grid
about
work. I'm sorry, I'll stop distracting you. This is the mood
So
I'm
if
in
you can
today.
get through the first 10 minutes of this conversation, there'll be some insight. So how it first started was I've always been able to connect to beans that aren't visible with the eye. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I've just never really liked it.
Okay. Yeah.
It was more of a pain in the ass than anything. And in like 2017, I was like, I'm going on this amazing road trip. And I made no plans. I had no idea where I was going. I just knew I had like 3 weeks. I had a destination at some point. And I planned the first stop, and I planned like a midway stop because I was going to visit my parents in Colorado. And so I had those two places, and otherwise I knew I was just going north and then over. And so from California. So I was living in LA. So I got in the car. I was so excited. I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew I was camping. Also, I'd never gone camping by myself in my life. So, which apparently brought up a lot of random fears of bears. Who knew? Being eaten by a bear camping in Yosemite. But so I start on this trip, and I'm by myself, 3 weeks camping. Like, I don't really know where I'm going. I don't have a plan. I just knew I wanted to visit certain like national parks, but I also wasn't like, I wasn't committed to anything. I was like, let's just go see where I end up. And I would say my soul took me to all these places that there was like work for me to do there. And I was already doing like a lot of healing work. I was doing a lot of theta healing. I worked a lot with ancestral work. And the one thing I always never wanted to do was connect to those that have already passed. So at that point in time, if they would show up in a session, I'd be like, yeah, I hear you, go away. Go away. I don't want to do that. And on that trip, everywhere I went, I was having like these major physical reactions. And I would get super tired. I'd have to pull over. Like, I'd be fine 1 minute, and then like 10 minutes down the road, I would just be like this, like driving, unable to keep my eyes open. And so I'd have to pull over. And after like a week, and then I started doing like clearings and healings and clearing the land. And it was a lot of native land. And like a lot of land where there was just so much trauma from past events or timelines. And a weekend I called like one of my mentors crying, and I was like, this is not a vacation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working all the time. And so then it just started where I would recognize that when I got like this, it was because there was something that I wasn't either like, there was something I needed to know for myself. I do also get like this if I have a big healing coming up for myself, or I have something confrontational. But most of the time, it's like there's some being who's either trying to get a hold of me, like trying to make me pay attention, or has a message for me, or there's like a healing on the land that needs to be done, or a clear, not a healing, but a clearing. Like, so I clear a lot of people who have passed who are stuck. And then I do other really weird things, like, you know, talk to beings and channel beings and all the
Yeah, but
other
so yeah,
weird woo woo.
thank you for sharing this, because you started by speaking about how when you feel tired, when you feel this kind of tiredness that you are speaking about, that you know there is something for you to address that you are a little bit avoiding, and so, and how do you finally lean into that? Because, well, at one point,
I have like
I'm trying to,
I'll ask what the message is.
yeah.
And typically I'll ask what the message is, or what needs to be done. I did ask what the message was. I did receive part of it. I just don't know what it means.
Ah, Well,
I did. I was like, I don't know what that means. And I got, you will. I was like, okay. And then it went into, because I got something about vitality and I was like, what? Um, something about delivering something about vitality. And I was like, I don't know, like, what is that? And then and then all of a sudden I realized last night I had weird dreams about age. And I
okay.
was like, oh, that's why I had dreams that like, so I'm 41, which is interesting that you asked me my birthday at the beginning of this.
Yes.
So I'm 41 and like last night I was having these dreams that people kept thinking I was like 50 something or 60 something or 70. It was the weird, and like the dreams made no sense. Um and I completely forgot them until the message came through about the vitality, and then I was like reminded of the dreams. I have no clue what it means. And I didn't go into it, but I also know that even though I'm much more open to the channeling aspect of, like, I've always been a channel. Like even my sessions I do are all channeled. My workshops I do are all channeled. Like I say things and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I say that usually in my head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
like I'll say something and I'll be like, oh, that's new. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I've never explained, like I've never had something explained that way. And it's not part of like what I do that I really advertise out there. Like if it comes up in a session, if someone's loved ones come through in a session, now I will like talk about it, but only in a session. I'm not walking up to strangers on the street being like, has your loved one passed? Like I don't do that.
I talk to dead
Nope.
people.
And then as far as like the other beings, I just don't usually say anything about like that. I just say I channel. I don't usually tell. Well,
Yeah,
now I
because
guess everyone who
now
listens
everybody
now.
knows, and yeah, no, but I've never heard you speak about that in that way as well. And I mean, we don't know each other for a very long time, but
Mm,
the way our relationship developed, to say that like
mm,
this, yeah, the way our relationship evolved actually is a
there,
good
yeah.
way of saying it. And the way our worlds met is that, you know, it's from heart to heart. There's no chit chat, only when we're like strolling a little bit of time before we record this podcast. But usually we are just, you know, down to business and open-hearted conversation. And this is not something. This is not the way. Also, you enter. I think with the sessions, when you do sessions, or conversation when you do
Mhm.
this conversation. This is not how you enter those moments.
It's part of what I do. It's like embedded in what I do. It's not
Yes.
um I wouldn't say like the channeling aspect. Um I when I do courses or I work whatever I'm doing in a session, like the information isn't coming from me.
Hmm.
And a
No.
lot of times after the session or a workshop, I won't even remember half the stuff I said. I have to go back and listen to it. It's the same when I do meditations or anything like that. I'm not really, I can fudge up. I can, I can like mess up the message when my conscious mind gets in the way.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
so, it is something that like with practice is getting easier. Because sometimes once I like consciously inject myself in the conversation of whatever's coming out, I'm like, I lose my flow, or I get very like, and sometimes in my head, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud.
You what?
Sometimes in my head, I'll be like, I even hear you're getting in the way, move over.
Okay, well, you know, you're very frank and direct, so that's
Well,
perfect. This
they're
fits.
very frank
This
and
is perfect.
direct.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's like, that doesn't make sense. or like,
Yeah, but you can receive it in that way. So, but I think it's very interesting that for you getting tired means there is something you are invited to go towards.
mhm,
And for me, getting tired is okay, get out of the way because you are just in the way.
mhm,
You are just, standing in the way, and there's work to be done, and you're standing in the way, so get out of the way. And I have experienced it many times as work being done on me, like, things needs to shift
mhm.
in my
Yes.
system and things needs to shift in my world. And so usually when I have this kind of moments where I feel really tired and I'm like, okay, I just, and sometimes I just need to lay down for 20 minutes on the
Mhm,
couch. I close my eyes. I'm not even sleeping. I'm not awake. I'm not sleeping. I'm gone. There's like, I don't hear anything. The whole world shuts down around me.
mhm,
And then I open my eyes again after usually about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm like a new person. And then like a person that has slept 15 hours in a row. That's how I
yep,
feel usually after those 20 minutes. And my I'm then usually also very happy and joyful and enthusiastic, and that's also for me is a sign that I'm getting out of the way when I'm just in the here and now and enjoying what is present in this moment with joy. I'm a very joyful person, and later on usually then things start to click,
mhm.
like coincidences or things that are all of a sudden coming together and then I'm like, but this is not like how did this happen? Oh, okay. And then click, 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 click. But I don't hear that people, even
So
though even though
that you know of,
I've been
that
accused
you
of that
know of.
because huh?
I said that you know of. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's all the voices in my head. Oh, it's not many people in my
Well,
head,
I
but
was
that
gonna say
people.
actually, the for me, it's actually like there are times that I just need to receive a healing and I'm tired. So for like there is that aspect of it for me as well. But I think for like what I notice is when it comes in, I have to check what it is. I have to ask, like, is this something, is there a message? Is it a healing on me or is it a healing or something I need to do? Because there
Mhm.
are times as well for me where I'm like, oh, there's like a healing for me coming in. And I do the same thing. I lay down, I receive it, and then I wake up. But I also noticed sometimes like I, well, in the past, when I first started, I would my body would completely shut, like, go into that overwhelm and shut down. And I would use it as an avoidance tactic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I paid for this course once. I paid for this course once, and every time I slept through the whole thing. I could not for the life of me stay awake because my body would be like, hell no, we're not doing this. And I'd sleep. And it doesn't mean you're not receiving the healing, but like consciously, I couldn't be there consciously because I would get in my own way. And I
Mm.
think that is like this similar to what you're saying. Um, because oh gosh, I was like, what did I get out of this course? I slept through the whole thing. But now I know that I was still receiving the healings. Uh,
Yeah.
but it is funny. I like.
Well, it's very interesting because it's the dance of, this is something that we spoke about last time a little bit also already. It's the dance between the human and the soul. It's a
Mhm,
dance between the world that we have around us, the physical world we have
mhm,
around us, and that which the soul came to experience. And so there's always a connection between both. It can't be not connected. We can't only be spiritual beings and forgetting the world and forgetting the the stuff we
mhm.
came to experience, because I don't believe that's the reason why that's how we are meant to live. Yes, I believe we are meant, I am meant to have an earth experience. And that means also really, really loving drinking my coffee out of this cup. And yes, it's very shallow and it's
Who
also
says it?
shallow.
Who
And
says
yes,
it's shallow?
it's also, well, I think it's more in the acceptance that it's all at the same time. Yes, it is shallow. Yes, I enjoy it. Will I die if I don't have my coffee in this cup? No. Will I take it out of the dishwasher and wash it by hand to be able to drink my coffee out of it tomorrow morning? Yes, because it's just going to bring that extra joy. And
Mhm.
wouldn't I give that to myself, gift that to myself? Because that's not spiritual. Spiritual is,
Oh.
you know, yes,
Oh, I am
there's,
like so
there's
much.
something boiling inside of you. I can see it. Your hair is getting frizzy, just like popping because
And I straightened it today. Um,
yeah.
I I have interesting that this is where we're going because I had this come up the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I, part of like when I'm in sessions with clients or when I'm doing things in my own life, really looking at like, what am I making this mean about me? It's
Mm-hmm.
a question I ask myself a lot. Like, when I'm feeling like shame or guilt or whatever. And the other day, like, uh I had a few glasses of wine throughout the day. And then, you know,
You were
and
drunk.
then the
What
next
was
day
it?
I woke up.
Are you trying to tell us you were drunk?
No, I was not drunk. I
Okay.
was I was feeling I was feeling happy. No, I really wasn't. I wasn't. I
You
wasn't.
had had a few glasses of wine and your body was relaxed.
I was
Perfect.
relaxed. Yes.
Yes,
And
yes. Okay.
and I the next day I felt guilty and I felt shame. And I was like, you didn't act like a fool. You didn't get plastered. You didn't. I'm like, what is this? What am I making this mean about me?
Very interesting. Yes.
And what I made it mean about me was a judgment on myself that I hadn't evolved enough, that I was still like human, that I was like, yeah, well, not in that like I'm still human, but like I hadn't evolved past wanting to have alcohol and how like shameful that was, or how like, oh, like, or how like having a glass of wine. And I think it's not about the one. I think it's because I had more than one that I was making it this like, and I think part of that is because past version of me would have gotten probably shit-faced drunk.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like it's actually what spurred me on my whole like awakening journey. Alcohol was my slap in the face, right? And it was alcohol and a really shitty relationship that had me hit what I consider my bottom at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hold a lot of judgment around it. And so when I was asking like, what am I making this mean about me? It was that like, oh, it's not spiritual. You're not like, you haven't evolved. Like you're not, it was an unworthiness that came with it because
Yeah.
I partook, whatever, because I participated in having, we'll just switch the whole word.
So the
Partic-
weakness, the not being strong enough and resisting and needing something for the relaxation, that kind of,
well, I wouldn't say it was like
yeah.
out of
Mm.
a need or like, I just like, because it wasn't an unconscious choice. I made the choice. Like I knew like, and I knew that I had to like make sure, not in controlling it either, just like I have stuff I want to do and I'm not like overindulging.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at it, I was like, that's what I was making it mean. And I was like, what a crock of shit.
Yes, especially because within the whole experience that you had, the whole evening or the whole you know,
Mm.
the day that you had, you were enjoying yourself. You were, I mean, there are so many more things of
Mm-hmm.
that day that you could be taking with you. And in
Yeah.
that moment, you chose to take the shame and not feeling worthy.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
also, and it's there's also an aspect of protection, because you also shared that the alcohol was part of the lowest point of
The
your life.
destruction.
Sounds like you were a drunk. That's not, but it was like it was part of the realization that you wanted to change your life and
Mm.
stop with drinking the alcohol. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
can summarize like that. Yeah, exactly. So there's also this protection aspect that came in, that kicked in, the survival, the like, yes, but where am I going? What is going to happen tomorrow?
Well,
Maurits, my husband, he always says, zero is easier than one.
yeah, well, it's not like, I mean, it's not like I hadn't had a drink in a long time, and like, or I don't consider myself like an alcoholic. I don't consider myself like, I don't crave alcohol. I'm not like anything like, and I can have like one or two and then end. Before I couldn't. And I know like,
Mhm.
and I think that's because of the work I've done on myself. It's
Mhm.
not, that is not the case for everybody. So like, if if you decided not to drink, don't drink.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
um but I think it's interesting because I think it goes back to um what people perceive, and it's the same with coffee or like anything. It's that judgment of what is considered spiritual or what's considered appropriate, or like, oh, you're, or what's considered having your shit together as a coach and a healer or as a spiritual person. And
And in truth, yes, I'm sorry, please
yeah, no,
finish.
and it, yeah, well, and it's all bullshit in that you can be like, there's so many aspects of us, and what I define as spiritual isn't what someone else defines as spiritual. And I'm also here, like you were saying, to also participate in the world, and that I don't need those things to participate, but I get to choose how I want to participate without shaming myself about it.
Yes, and the issue is often that there are boxes. We
Mm-hmm.
function in boxes. So the box of the, well, or the identity of the spiritual person, the identity of the mother, I mean, we have all those feminine archetypes, and then we have the masculine archetypes. But I don't know much about masculine archetype because I'm a woman. I consider myself a woman, a feminine woman, so I won't speak about that. But we have all those identities that we, or is, and that started with religion. If you were a religious person from that kind of religion, those were the rules that you had to apply to. And this is something that we inherited and that we keep on doing, because it's, if you don't know to which identity or box you identify yourself with, then it's very difficult, because you have to find, you have to recreate it by yourself, which is
Um,
exactly the reason why we started this podcast and why we started talking about how we are doing our companies and how we are doing our lives. Because I think I can speak for both of us, but I definitely do not believe in a model to follow to be successful at your business, your life, your company. I actually promote the fact that we are all unique. If you and I watch the same movie, we're not going to have the same experience. And that same movie, yes, is not going to have the same resonance in our being, because you have a different past than I have. So seeing something might trigger joy in me, anxiety in you, and
mhm.
happiness in another person. And so how amazing when I think about that, just think about it. So this is this idea that everything that we do, that we see, links to a different thread inside our system and a different thread in your system. And this all mingles together to create Kristen and to create Ghislaine. And that's
Mhm.
so amazing. When you think about this like that, there's so much freedom in that. And that, well, that gives me a lot of hope for humanity. Well, okay, that's another conversation. But it gives me a lot of hope for myself.
Well, I think in that too, like it is like the when we over identify, I think when we over identify as anything, we're out of balance.
Yes.
Because to me, if I am only identifying myself as this spiritual person, and each identity comes with these unspoken conditions and rules, and they differ from community to community, from culture to culture, but they still have these unspoken rules. And then there are overlapping rules as well. So like when we're like, oh, I am a mother and this is like my main identity, well then in that identity you're ignoring all the others, and you're not allowing yourself to have those aspects because they might not fit with this identity.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like if you know, for example, if someone identifies, I am not a mother, so but if someone identifies as being a mother, and in that it means everyone comes before them, if and that's, I know that's not everyone's belief, but that tends to be a big one across multiple cultures and
Yes.
collectives, that their
Yes.
children come before them, their partners come before them, like, and they're last. Then how does that fit with the identity of you as like a soul, or you as your mission and your purpose, and how does that conflict with that?
Yeah, I even want to go further because than that, I believe there are as many mothers, way of being a mother, as there are women that give birth to children. So there's not one way of being a mother.
Oh,
Everybody has its.
completely.
So
Complete.
when we say I'm a mother, that's no, I have, well, yes, but I have children. And so how, it's the same as religion. There are as many religions as there are people that believe in a God.
Well,
There's no
and
right or wrong way. Yeah,
yeah,
or there's no general definition to do to have that, to describe that. I'm a lost at of words, but yeah.
it's so interesting where these conversations go, because this is also like what I'm doing in upcoming things, is looking at these definitions, because when you say, like, if someone says I'm a mother, right,
Mm-hmm.
the person receiving that automatically boxes you in based on their definitions of what a mother is. And
Oh,
then when
their
you
definition.
on their definitions, and then when you don't fit that, there
There's
comes
conflict.
there's conflict, and there's like, because it's the projection of what I think that is, and we automatic as people, we automatically do this, and then it's like looking at the where we are like questioning our definitions, because we do it with everything, like a woman, right? Well, everyone automatically shifts into what is a woman for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, then you go and you're looking at people all over, judging them by this definition, whether consciously or subconsciously, but
Yeah.
knowing then that the difference is knowing that your definition isn't the only definition.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and allowing people to be who they are in who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and shifting and allowing that to shift and change your perspective of something.
The most triggering thing that I say to people is there are no truths.
Oh,
It's
there
not,
aren't. Everything's a
there
perspective.
aren't. There is no, this is not true. This is not true. Nothing is really true because each person has its own truth and Perception, oui.
And we talked about that a little bit on the last one. It's like, who made this shit up?
Who
Like,
the heck made this shit
who
up?
made this shit up? Someone's a liar.
Yeah.
But and I think that is such a important thing to look at. Like, what are you defining as something is or isn't? And looking at that aspect as well, because that's, and for me, when I look at that stuff, I'm like, one, this is not true. Like, I say that to myself a lot as well. That's a lie. Like, when I
Yeah.
have thoughts in my head and I'm like, oh, like, well, oh, maybe that's too expensive, or maybe I'm like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
That's like, or
That's interesting because I was thinking about, yeah, I was thinking about in relation to money, that is
Mhm.
something that there's something in us. So there are a few themes that are really triggering in all of us. A mother, okay, that's not really triggering. To
For
some people,
us,
it's
because
triggering.
we're not a mother, I think if you're a mother, it's super freaking triggering.
Yeah, it depends also. Yeah, and even women that didn't become a mother that really wanted to become a mother. There's also, so there's a lot of layers. But motherhood is not something that is going to apply to everybody on earth because we also have men on this earth. But themes like religion and money and relationships, you
Gender.
know, yeah, well, gender, yes, those are all things that are going to be, because they are so much more alive to so many more people. There's no relativity in that. So there's no way of bringing the balance. So, for example, speaking about mothers, my husband, um, well, he has friends, of course, and sometimes they are with us, and they are all three men, and they have a very different perspective on things that us women have, and
Sorry.
they are like, boom, and I'm like, oh, and so it's very interesting. And the gift that this gives me is a perspective from someone that is, one, not aligned with my belief system, and two, well, not a woman. So, and this is actually really interesting. So some themes only apply to women, some themes apply to the whole of humanity, things like religion and money, yeah. And so there's going to be much more beliefs around those questions, and
And
all those
stronger
beliefs are
beliefs.
surrounding us.
Stronger
Yeah, very
beliefs
strong
too.
beliefs. Yeah.
Because people, when it comes to religion, it comes to money, and family, I think, is another one that's big. Like like,
So,
which goes into the roles though of mother and father, but like family, people's perspective on family,
mhm.
and what as well. People have strong opinions. Strong.
I heard someone say, and I don't even dare, I think it was Donald Trump. So not sure I dare to say this out loud, but I thought it was very wise what he said. He said, care more about the family you are creating that the family you came from. And the reason why this resonated so much for me is because, yes, the family we came from, they are, there are some people that hold so much to where they come from. They stay in the past. And for me, it's about, what are you building? What are you building for the future? So it doesn't mean do not, get rid of your family or do not stay in touch, but it just means value that which you are creating in the future more than that which created you in the past.
Okay, so I'm about to like say something that's
Tell me, yes, please.
gonna piss people off.
Yeah.
But I have found from my experience,
Yeah.
and my cultural background,
Mm-hmm.
that cultures, religions, ethnicities that have experienced over time massive trauma.
Mm-hmm.
The okay, I'm gonna say it. The reason they're not like the reason things continue is because it's that fucked loop, sorry, where they're always pulled into what happened.
Yes, because what did we learn to do as a society to remember the past?
Yeah, to
So
never
in a
forget,
sense,
so it
in
doesn't
every
happen
time,
again. We
the
literally teach
energy and the
we can't forget.
frequency. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 it's okay. Please. Yeah.
No, you're right. We teach you like don't forget, so we don't, so history doesn't repeat itself. It's insane.
We keep, it's like going on a diet. It's exactly the same as, doing as humanity doing the same stupid mistake we made like 200, 300 years ago is the same as going on a diet. You go on a diet wanting to eat healthy, but your mind is going to the cookies and the sweeties. Just like, I know it's not like this for everyone, but that's a clear example for everyone. So your actions want to be here, but your thinking is here. Just because that's how it's, because that's, there's a chemistry in the body that's reacted to those sweet stuff. And it's the same with remembering the past. When you remember the past, so you are an ideologist, yeah, you believe in peace, but you are continuously remembering the troubles, the past, and the pain of the past. That creates a reaction in your body. There's something that is lighted on continuously that says, be careful, protect yourself, fight. They are your enemies. They are your enemies. And you keep it, and you keep from the one generation to the other one. This is what we are fed with.
Well,
It's completely
and
ridiculous.
scientifically, it's like it's the study of epigenetics.
Oui, exactement.
It's the like it's the way trauma is passed on is through one genetically, but also through the stories. It's passed and like it's the nature and the nurture of it, right? Like, and we're still living, everyone's being pulled into the past. And there are other aspects of it that I've been like, part of it is the ancestral aspect, right? Because here, when you wonder how shit's gonna come together, this is how shit comes together.
Tell me.
So so one thing, like with like I do a lot of family ancestral stuff, like that's a lot of my work, and even on the land, because it's clearing the ancestors, because part of what it is they are still part of the collective.
Mm-hmm.
The people who haven't passed and are here, who have not crossed or whatever, however you want to, decided not to go to the light for whatever reason, in the simplest explanation possible, they're still part of our collective energy.
Mm-hmm.
Their beliefs, their feelings, everything are still feeding into the collective.
Exactly.
And so when you have people who have, I mean, there's a lot more dead people here than there are living. I mean, like, so when you have like people who have had all this trauma who are still walking around, but no one can see them, they're still feeding us and they're still talking in our ears. They're still feeding those beliefs into their families. Don't do that. It's not safe. Don't do that. It's not safe. Like, you can't trust that person. You can't trust that person because they killed our people 2,000 years ago. And those are examples. Like, for me, I come from a biracial background, so my dad is Black. I am very aware that that does not look the case on my skin from my skin tone, but I still had so many of those beliefs and traumas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that like constantly like pulled into, and as a biracial family, as a family, like, and even on like my predominantly Black side of my family, it's still a story. We like, it's something that comes up every day like not every day, but like very often in conversation is
Yeah.
is race.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a big part. And it's not that things aren't happening still, because they are, but it's allowing it to be tied back into these old aspects. And it's having those ancestors who are still sitting around your family gatherings fueling shit. I mean, this is a general explanation.
Well, it's very
Very.
interesting your take on that. How I understand this is that the the that which was passed by our ancestors is still alive in us, and by keeping those beliefs intact in our
Mhm.
systems, consciously or unconsciously, we keep them here. So I
Mm,
believe it's our doing that keeps those energies here.
that's
Because
interesting.
yeah, that is very interesting. Because I don't believe that, because my belief system is that as an entity, when you are gone from your physical body, you you fly. There's no limit anymore from where your soul can be. Yes, only
Mhm.
one level. So you go, and my memory, like for example, my dog passed away. I'm going to take an example that is not so emotional, well, less emotional than my
It's
mother.
emotional for you. I
Still
mean,
emotional, but well, nah, it's weird to say less emotional than my mother, but maybe a little bit more, something that I have a little bit more, that I lost my words. Oh, that I let into my life from a very different perspective. My mom passed 14 years ago, 15 years
mhm.
ago nearly, and my dog passed just last December. So I'm a very different person than I was 15 years ago. So maybe that's the better way to explain this. But I, um, me feeling him walking next to me after his passing is me. It's my feeling. It's the
Mhm.
resonance of his being inside of me, and I'm doing that. And the beautiful thing is that I can call him in whenever I want. If I want to
Mhm.
feel his presence and his joy and his
Mhm.
happiness walking and playing next to me, I can. And that's a
Mhm.
very good thing. But so my mom died because she was sick. She had cancer. If I think about my mom's last few days and the suffering, I'm bringing a part of her that is very different than if I bring back her laugh, for example. And
Mhm.
I keep that present in my system and in my field and in my energy. She didn't decide to stay here. She wanted to, so her soul's purpose, her soul's choice was to go. Her human choice is very different. So
Mhm.
I'm just want to
So
say that because
that's
yeah, I don't know.
so that's interesting,
Yeah.
because I like the way I experience it. Yes, um, most souls choose to go, and it goes down to still free will.
Mm-hmm.
So when, like, and this is what I believe from my experiences, which also our beliefs are and experiences, it's like our experiences come from our beliefs as well. So there's no like both can be completely right at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
my experience is that when someone passes, they have a choice. They have the choice to either leave or move on, and or they have the choice to stay. And a lot of times I found that when people have experienced a death that's either unexpected, like through a trauma, or there's a lot of anger and hatred and rage about something, um, or there's a fear due to religion of going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Souls may choose when depart, to not go completely, or if there's there's a lot of reasons actually, but like a lot of times if they are so worried about the people left behind, they won't, like, they're like, oh no, I have to stay and still take care of them, or like make sure they're okay or something. So like there's still that choice to go. Some people don't even know they're dead, which is always interesting. And so because so it's this way of like the choice, I found that the choice is theirs to go or not. But then they can, if they decide to stay for whatever reason, it's like the anger, because in the stuff I do a lot of healing on like letting go of whatever is keeping them here. And then usually they go on. So it's not, and yes, we keep things alive in ourselves through the belief systems, and they can attach to the belief system. But as far as like calling them in completely, but I have found that like in that sense, you can call in someone who's left, like the souls that depart and technically like decide to leave. Let's just call it decide to leave.
To leave the body.
To leave, like to return back to their essence, instead of the souls that are like, we're just gonna stay unresolved here. Calling them back has a different frequency and vibration. And it goes into that aspect of like, yeah, if you call back that part. But I think it's interesting because I'm gonna have to like think about this and feel into it and look into it as well, because having the way it's been for me, like the way the work has been for me, and what I'm doing, it's interesting because I mean I the way I experience it has been like that, but am I experiencing something like that because that's just how I've received it?
But and then yes, the channeling is always based on the belief system of the person that channels. So, like Bashar or Abraham Hicks, which are one of the for me most known beings that are being channeled, everything they are going to pass as a message is going to be passed through us to us through the belief system of the person that is channeling, because that's what's happening. You can shut yourself out for like some pieces, but not for everything. The interpretation of what they are bringing into your system and it is coming out in words, there's also always going to be the belief system of the person. So because I hear what you say. And then this next suggestion, on a soul level, we are perfect. We are whole, we are complete. There's no fear, there's no pain, there's no joy, there's no love. There is only complete ave, I'm going to call it, like just this fullness of expansion, this perfectness. I'm going to call it perfectness, which is even better than love. Yes? So, on a soul level, this is what we are. And I hear you say sometimes the soul chooses to leave, to stay, to take care of the people that are still here. So my question is, does the human experience of that soul, is there so much fear, so much pain, so much responsibility, so much unsolved emotions that the soul still decides to stay? Or is
Yes.
it a part? Okay, yes.
So yes, that it's part of actually their agreement. Like it's like part, how I have seen it, how it's come to me, is that it is part of their soul's agreement to continue. So it's
So they
not
are
like
still here
as part
having
of
an
their human
earth
experience.
experience, but not having a human experience.
Yes. Yes,
Ah,
it's still
d'accord.
part of their earth experience. So it's that whole like agreed upon before coming kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
And like, okay, they're still it's like the gifts and lessons of what they're here to receive haven't necessarily been learned. And so their soul is choosing to stay to continue to learn it.
Okay.
And so that is more it's not like or it's like, yeah, so they're still living in fear, so it's moving out of that living in fear. It's they're still doing like, so there's whatever it is, it's different for every soul,
Yeah.
but it's part of their human experience or their earth experience, just not in a physical body.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then with that, like with the channeling aspect, um just like for clarification, like when I'm channeling, I'm not channeling those beings. Like the channeling, it's very different. Like that's more
No, what you do is more directed at messages to support the person you are doing a healing with in that moment.
when I work with um souls that haven't left the earth,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
like whatever we want to call them, ancestors or any that's more like that. And then when I'm channeling more from higher beings.
Yeah.
So
And
they're
so
two different.
when you work with souls that haven't departed yet, who pays you?
Nobody. This is actually, it's funny that you say that because that has been a conversation that I have had before about this, a lot of work. So on that
Yeah.
trip when I was like crying on the phone, and
Oh,
I was
yes, 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 yes.
and I was like, no one is even paying me for this shit. I'm on vacation, blah 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 blah. And I was crying, right?
Yeah.
And uh so one time, like I was crying. I was like, this is a lot of work. I'm supposed to be having fun. I'm supposed to be on vacation. And all I'm doing is working and being really tired. Working, like, I mean, I was doing other stuff, but it just felt constant.
Mhm.
And so the first day of my trip, my car overheated. Like the first day of the 3 weeks. Now looking at it, it was like all energetic stuff going on in the, like, it was all energetic stuff. But I was like, oh my God, I need a new car. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, and then on that trip, I won a 2-year lease to a car.
Woo-hoo.
And, and recently, when I was like, in my human being, like, this is like, I'm doing all this work and no one's paying me. I like, I'm like, they're not even bringing their dead folks. I mean, they're living folk. The dead people aren't bringing the living people. Like, what is this? Like,
You're dead
don't
people.
show up when living people are there. Like these people. Um, and in that, I like when I was like in my human moment bitching about it. It was like, how do you think you won that car?
That's
I was
amazing.
like, okay, well, great. That was 2 years ago. It's time for a new payment. Like, but
Like
but no,
that.
it's
That's funny.
interesting because that is something that, like, it is something that is interesting, and it's something I had to learn serious boundaries with,
Mhm.
because I when I first started, I would in my room,
Mhm.
and or they would wake me up at night. There's an issue with what my computer is doing, all weird stuff. All right, where'd you go? Okay.
There's an issue with your Apple Music account. To resolve this, check that your account is up to date in the Settings app.
Can you all leave my computer alone, please?
Well, I don't know if it's your computer that is getting involved in this conversation, or if it is the dead people, or the souls, or the half living people, whatever, something is getting involved in this conversation.
I think it's the thing that showed up before when I was really tired, and I think that's why this is. But
Ah,
because I'm starting to feel lighter, but no, it's a conversation I've had. Like, this is a lot of work, and the boundaries, because that's what I was saying. I wake up in the middle of the night. I wake up to people waking me up.
mm-hmm.
I'd wake up to people touching me, not like just like poking me or like, and it was this thing.
They
It
ask
was,
you, you wanting your attention. Yeah.
oh, and it was at the beginning when I was like, I'm having no part of this. And then it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until finally I was like, I was terrified
Mm-hmm.
because like weird shit was happening all over my house.
Mm-hmm.
Like things were turning on, things were moving, people were touching me, and I couldn't see it. And it like scared the hell out of me. I was like terrified. And then finally it had to be like, I like worked through my fears
Yeah.
and then had to learn to set boundaries, like serious boundaries, because you can tell a living person to get out of your house. Like telling someone who's not in a body to get out, they can be like, so it really made me have to like work on, because it was my belief systems that weren't like, that weren't strong enough to get them out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, no, get out. Like if I go to bed and stuff starts happening, I'm like, I'm already in bed. Come back another time when I'm awake and not in my bedroom.
Yeah, book a meeting on Calendly.
Bring a living person.
That has pesitos. Oh,
But
I like it.
it's interesting. It's a interesting aspect of it. And it
So,
goes
what are we leaving our listeners with today?
a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I would say look at what you define as the aspects of who you are and how you define them, right?
How
Because
do
we
you
talked
do
about the
what? Yeah.
spirituality aspect, like what is spirituality, but like what is the role? What are the conditions you place on your identity?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because those are, because even as a channel or a medium, I'm not doing it as it's typically defined.
No, but there is no way of
No, you
doing it. There's
gotta
no
make it your
one
own.
way. Yeah, exactly. It's your
You
own
gotta
way
make it your
because
own.
how you interpret something that is happening is just that's going to be defining the translation you give to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
What are the conditions you're putting on? And then who made that shit up? The
Who
things
made
that like
this
you
shit
are
up?
putting on, who made that shit up? Who made that shit up? Is that true?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the title of our
Who made
of
that
this.
shit up?
Who made it shit up?
Who made that shit up?
Maybe it should be the title of our podcast, the name of our podcast. Instead of having our first names, Kristen and Ghislaine, let's just have the who made that shit up. I like that
I
actually.
mean, I like that. I
Maybe
like
we
that.
should do that.
Rebrand,
Yeah.
rebrand. Not even a month in rebranding. This
Well,
is
exactly. It's growing. It's growing together with us, isn't it? Yeah.
like who
Yeah.
made that shit?
Let's
Who
let's
made that shit?
let's, let's put that in there. Who made that shit up? Yeah, I
I
like that.
actually, I kind of like that.
Yeah. Whoop whoop.
Changes in the works already.
Exactly, exactly. This is, but and this is also what we are wanting to show to the world by doing this. Nothing has a strict beginning and a strict end. Whatever happens in between, this is the growing and the
Mm.
flowing and the going with what comes your way instead of wanting to control and to state, no, this is the way it's done. which is exactly the conversation we were having today. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for the laughs, no tears today. No, just the laughs and the realizations.
Not yet.
And
No tears yet.
yeah. Bye, beauty. Bye, everybody that listened and watched to us.
Bye.